Hey, what's up out there, everybody? Welcome back. This is episode 5 of my top 100 action movies from the 1990s. If you missed the first 4, they'll of course be linked in this video for you guys to check out later. But today, diving into films number 60 through 51, a collection of movies that delivers some spy action, a couple aliens, a master thief, an airplane, a 70s legend, and Meryl Streep. Yes, Meryl Streep does action in this episode, so let's dive into it. My number 60 movie centers on the world's most skilled thief. He's cunning, he's devious, and treacherous. You never reveal your name, you never turn your back, and you never surrender your heart to The Saint from 1997, starring Val Kilmer and Elizabeth Shue from director Philip Noyce. Now, to me, The Saint is a film that really thrives on the atmosphere of its international settings and just overall how it explores a master thief skilled in the art of disguises. The plot is plenty interesting. It does have its holes, and the pacing can be a little bit iffy in places, but it's still a great ride of charming action layered with elements of espionage while also being an interesting heist film with an undercurrent of love carried effectively by Shue and Kilmer. Now, admittedly, Kilmer has more than a few of his cheesy scenes here, but I think he carries it well and his charm does make the role work. I think Shue's a bit overly meek for the needs of the narrative. I think she could have been a bit stronger and the story could have still worked, but it's far from a deal breaker, and in the end, the creative action sequences this movie provides makes The Saint hold up as one of the decade's best. Moving along to number 59 is an action thriller that I think is a bit forgotten. It's set in the countryside, but vacation is over in 1994's The River Wild, starring Meryl Streep and Kevin Bacon from director Curtis Hanson. This is one of those movies that I think can certainly come in and catch you by surprise. Yes, it does have its plot conveniences and spots of predictability, but it's nothing that gets in the way of this thrilling ride of suspense being able to capture your imagination. You have Meryl Streep and Kevin Bacon driving this film, so it's extremely well acted. I think Bacon really leans into the psychopath role so effortlessly, and it's really just great for the needs of this quick-moving, real-time thriller. Streep has to survive the river and the bad guys to save her family, and it's surprisingly compelling and easily engaging. Sure, it has its familiar subplots, but I think they're all done well to frame the action, and with the on-location shoots out in the wilderness on these raging rivers, the immersion level of The River Wild is one of its bright spots. But really, I think this movie just comes down to the cat and mouse game between Streep and Bacon with their charged performances that will leave you anticipating each move they make. You're going to want to prepare to go ballistic for my number 58 movie, a big, flashy, stylish action flick from the late half of the decade, directed by John Woo, starring John Travolta and Christian Slater, and that film would, of course, be 1996's Broken Arrow. There were few things better in the late 90s than the eccentric direction of John Woo and the equally flamboyant acting of John Travolta, and Broken Arrow slaps them together for a military-themed action romp, and the result is just a pure adrenaline ride of masculinity and one-liners and waves of elegant action. Christian Slater is thrown into the mix, and sure, his performance is Slater being Slater, but for the needs of the movie, it works, and I think he and Travolta are able to make the most of this tried-and-true friends-turned-enemies trope with a nuclear twist. I mean, sure, Broken Arrow is cheesy in many places. It's melodramatic enough for 10 movies, but that's all part of the fun. This movie relies on the action, and it's well staged from the fight scenes to the variety of chase sequences and shootouts and other action set pieces. This movie is non-stop, and with a reliance on practical stunt work and effects with a touch of digital effects on the side, Broken Arrow is a great time to watch. My number 57 pick is a political thriller about an assassin on the loose, a president in danger, and one old Secret Service agent that will stand in between them, and that man is Clint Eastwood and Wolfgang Petersen's In the Line of Fire from 1993, also starring Rene Russo and John Malkovich. Now, the deadly game of cat and mouse is certainly what I think makes In the Line of Fire such a riveting ride of suspense and close calls. Eastwood is solid as the aging Secret Service agent, and his bristly demeanor is perfect for the needs of the role. His romantic subplot with Rene Russo is laughable nostalgia from the 90s, but I mean, really the true star of this film, outside of the nicely layered script, is the sadistic performance from John Malkovich. I mean, we've seen this sort of role before, but in the hands of Malkovich, it's completely unique, and he really does hold his own next to Eastwood in terms of screen presence. This is one of those movies where you can naturally assume the ending of, but watching it get there with its methodical pace and through Peterson's direction can capture your attention and really keep you locked in on every move until the end credits roll. We're going to take things back to the action genre basics for my number 56 movie. When the streets are a jungle, there can only be one king, and that man would be Jean-Claude Van Damme in Lionheart from 1990, directed by Sheldon Lettich. Jean-Claude Van Damme would go from martial arts movies to fighting cyborgs to fighting for family in Lionheart, and I think this little movie still holds up well as one of the earlier films in Van Damme's resume where he showcased some of his dramatic acting. I think this street fighting movie is really the perfect vehicle for Van Damme to deliver all his trademark action, and there is plenty of it, from fighting under overpasses to garages to pools to the lavish backyards of the wealthy who love seeing man fight man, and it's just a blast of 80s nostalgia wrapped up in this early 90s film, layered with Van Damme kicks. I think Lettich's direction is capable, and it results in, I think, a high adrenaline action movie with a strong undercurrent of heart to make it all mean something. Lionheart really does keep a strong forward pace. It's filled with cheesy bravado, and it delivers a tried and true showdown filled with melodrama and a one-of-a-kind villain that will leave a smile on your face. Next up at number 55 is a military-themed action film with a twist of comedy and tons of drama from director David O. Russell. In A War Without Heroes, They Were Kings, Three Kings from 1999, starring Ice Cube, George Clooney, and Mark Wahlberg. Now, right out of the gate, Three Kings does have many things working in its favor. It's extremely well written, the story is very smart with the humanity to it, and it's very well cast. The performances, I think, are fantastic, led by Cube and Clooney and Wahlberg, and I think this premise overall is a unique spin on the traditional war movie, because Three Kings really is a Desert Storm heist film with strong impressions of humor and a heartfelt core that gives it all some meaning and then makes it all worth something. So, I mean, this is a movie that can easily pull you in on this mission to steal some gold, and then you get the direction from Russell that I think really does bring things up many notches, because his film techniques here give Three Kings a lasting visual appeal with his use of handheld and Steadicam techniques. I mean, you really do feel like you're in the tension of many of these dramatic situations, and it can get you pulled up in your seat when the bullets are flying during the action as well. Now, my number 54 movie has a great cast, and it's set inside the world of an assassin who can't be stopped because he has no identity outside of just being known as the Jackal from 1997, starring Bruce Willis, Richard Gere, and Sidney Poitier from director Michael Caton Jones. Assuming you can overlook the ridiculous accent from Richard Gere, The Jackal is a methodical assassin flick with an equal element of elegance and grittiness to it as it explores the underground methodologies of a contract killer. I think Bruce Willis is the smoothest hitman in cinematic history with his performance here, as he captures just a unassumingly sadistic killer with a layer of charm to him and just this controlled rage that you can't wait to see explode. Richard Gere, he's okay, as I said. He's a talented actor, and he does fine for the job of this role outside of his terrible accent. But really the true number 2 star of this film is Sidney Poitier, who comes in with a grounded and just very likable performance. The Jackal overall may not have a ton of action, but when it hits, it's fun, it's violent, it's unrelenting, and really perfect for the moods of this sleek little movie. The story, I think, feels kind of lived in, and it's really an easy escape, because when the climax hits, it's plenty satisfying as a closing for a film that I think manages to actually do something unique inside this assassin subgenre. We're We're going to get a lot more lighthearted with my number 53 movie, an iconic film starring two finely dressed men who protect the earth from the scum of the universe, and those two men are Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, and that movie is, of course, 1997's Men in Black from director Barry Sonnenfeld. Certainly not a straightforward action movie. I think you still gotta put Men in Black on this list because it's filled with tons of fun alien fighting action and a lot of humor from the pairing of Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. This movie is creatively ambitious. Its visual appeal, I think, still holds up over pretty much all of the sequels. But I mean, what makes this movie so much fun, to me at least, is the world building that you can just easily escape into. Men in Black delivers a full-on lighthearted adventure filled with cosmic action, and it's a blast of adventure and humor, with Jones and Smith serving up a lights-out duo for the needs of this movie. They absolutely take the young paired with old trope and do their completely own thing with it. The direction from Sonnenfeld is effective, and from the large-scale action to the smaller action set pieces, this movie rarely has a dull moment. Now, up next at 52 is a nostalgic favorite of mine from 1992. It stars Wesley Snipes as an air marshal with a big mouth and a bad attitude, and for the terrorists on Flight 163, he's very bad news because Snipes is Passenger 57 from director Kevin Hooks. This movie is an undeniable die-hard ripoff on a plane, but it's also a reminder of how well the formula can work when done right. Snipes is confident and smooth and charming, all the things you want in one half of an action lead. Then on the other side, he delivers all the needed physicality and tough guy swagger that you want for a full-throttle action flick, and that's what Passenger 57 delivers. It doesn't waste too much time with unneeded subplots or fillers. It sticks to the mission. It really does keep its foot on the gas and flows nicely from one harrowing situation to the other, all carried effortlessly by the charisma of Snipes. From shootouts to chase sequences and a variety of fight scenes down to the textbook one-on-one final showdown, this movie is non-stop action, and with Bruce Payne soaking up every scene as the villain, Passenger 57 gives you all you could want from an early 90s action flick with a strong 80s vibe. And coming up next at 51 is an underrated sequel from 1990. It's about the ultimate hunter. It's silent, it's invisible, it's invincible, and this time it's in Los Angeles in Predator 2, starring Danny Glover and Gary Busey from director Stephen Hopkins. Now, this movie is one that I don't think ever really had a chance. It's a sequel to one of the best action movies of all time, and instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger, this one gives you Danny Glover, but I contend that if Predator didn't exist, then Predator 2 would be much more appreciated. This movie creates a strong atmosphere. It's gritty, it's a little sleazy in the right places, it's ultra violent, and it's still a kick-ass ride all these years later. Glover, of course, he's no Schwarzenegger, but he's still a strong commanding lead for this movie, and how the story maneuvers itself allows Glover to really go toe-to-toe with the Predator in believable fashion. The supporting cast is fantastic, with names like Gary Busey and Marita Conchita Alonso and Bill Paxton and Ruben Blades and others that really do elevate their characters, and it's just filled with tons of visually appealing practical action. Predator 2 is not at the level of the first film, but it's a damn fine sequel and a great action flick overall. And that's it for today, guys. That wraps up this collection of 10 films, numbers 60 through 51. Great movies that are certainly worth checking out if you haven't seen them, and all of these are fun to go back and revisit, even if you have. And if you've missed the first 4 episodes of this series, I will leave them linked all over the place here for you guys to check out. And be on the lookout for episode 6 coming right around the corner, breaking down films number 50 through 41. I hope you guys are all going to join me. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. Thank you guys so much, as always, for watching. You guys are all fantastic. I will see you in my next video, and until then, movies never say die.
This is Jack Burton in the Pork Chop Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there.
If I have a war, you gotta become war.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
You trying to say Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?